Fused Zamasu looked upon Trunks, able to sense his immense increase in power, and the shimmering light radiating off of him. At first, this frightened the fusion, but they got a grip and began firing off several bolts of lightning that were instantly blown away by just a glance from the hybrid. Trunks looked back towards Mei, telling her to get to safety and just watch from there. He practically teleports in front of Zamasu, swinging his sword and bisecting the monster, waving a hand to the side and blowing away a portion of its body. The fusion attempts to fight back, but Trunks gets rid of his arms, leaving only a torso that's soon blown away as well. Unfortunately, the fusion is only turned into a green mist, which soon reforms across the battlefield. Zamasu begins screaming in frustration, asking how a mere mortal could wield such power, how anyone could even begin to approach his level, but Trunks wasn't having it, nor were the others. Super Buu fired off a Majin Kamehameha that struck Zamasu and distracted him, while Vegeta fired off a one-handed Gallic gun. These two blasts allowed Trunks to close the distance once more and begin slicing and dicing his opponent. However, the fusion was ready this time, using his time ring to block one of the attacks, causing the sword to shatter, leaving only the hilt. Trunks was still confident in his abilities though, landing several destructive attacks on the fusion. Yet Zamasu simply kept regenerating and growing in power. While his growth wasn't drastic, seemingly watered down by Black's Majin body, it was still concerning. Super Buu took a second to regain his composure and heal Vegeta's arm, but he had no plan, nothing that could definitively destroy this creature. And that's just when Mei came flying up with a plan, one which seemed eerily familiar. Vegeta, having grown a little in power, was providing cover for his son, trying to help out in the fight as much as possible, though Zamasu soon grew too strong for the Saiyan to do anything but pester him. The fusion was acting erratic, wildly swinging and firing off attacks in every direction, one of which eventually hit Vegeta and sent him careening across the city. Such an attack basically put the prince out of commission, but Trunks continued on, fighting to the best of his abilities. It was amazing to watch as both Zamasu and the hybrid continued growing, pushing each other to new heights that the others couldn't possibly fathom. The two were so engrossed in their battle that neither noticed a giant white orb quickly forming on the horizon. That's when a voice entered Trunks' head, one that was pretty familiar. Trunks, can you hear me?
Cell? How are you?
That doesn't matter. Now, you already know the basics of God Ki, so I'll make this quick. Mei is charging up an attack that should allow us a chance at victory. We don't have enough energy to fully destroy Zamasu, but I have a plan. The Bug Man, using King Kai from Otherworld, explains the basics of the Genki Dama, and that those with a pure heart will be able to hold and use the energy. He had taught Mei, the most pure out of all of them, how to charge it up, but Trunks would be the conduit, the person to wield such energy. Just as Goku passed the energy from himself to Krillin during the Saiyan invasion, Mei would pass this energy onto Trunks. Cell asks everyone to give as much of their energy to the Genki Dama as they can spare. Buu, Vegeta, and every other living creature on planet Earth pours their energy into this attack. It takes several minutes, time that Trunks has to buy through combating Zamasu, who's growing significantly as his body further mutates and his anger grows. The fusion soon pulls out a scythe, cutting a hole in the sky that multiple clones of himself pour out of. The army is mindless and has far less power than the original, but they still prove a good distraction, allowing Zamasu to land a powerful hammer fist that slams Trunks into the ground, causing a massive crater. The monster puts his enormous hand over the Saiyan's face, forming a red ki blast, but future Trunks manages to kick his assailant away. He looks around, seeing Chekhov's sword hilt, grabbing it out of instinct right as Mei announces it's ready. Trunks flies into the air, holding the hilt above his head as a giant orb, resembling the moon, shines behind him.
This ends now, Zamasu. I won't allow you to continue terrorizing my future.
The white light was absorbed into Trunks' aura, then traveling into his sword, forming a sleek white blade that radiated white fire.
How can you possibly destroy an immortal god?
Zamasu charged a swirling purple blast, though his ki was heavy, starting to turn into an inky black.
It's simple. Something you'd never understand. I'm doing it with the power of hope. The hope that the future will be better, that we can improve, change, and overcome evil like you.
Zamasu attempted to speak once more, but Trunks was done talking. He rushed forward, cutting straight through the sphere launched at him and directly through Zamasu's right hand. This just so happened to be the same hand that held the time ring, which is now split in half by the Sword of Hope. The fusion pulled back, the pain in his arm being too great a burden to handle. However, what happened next was the real concern. His arm began to disintegrate, and unlike before, it was completely gone. No mist, no regeneration, just gone. This, along with the time ring's destruction, caused Zamasu to grow concerned and even more sloppy. He tried to kick Trunks away to make some sort of distance, but the swordsman teleported behind him, driving the sword straight through his heart. The demon's body began to morph and mutate, though it seemed more like it was falling apart. He stood still and even began crying, not out of remorse, but since he knew he'd never see his ideal world. Trunks dragged the sword down, bisecting Zamasu before slicing him into as many pieces as he could and blasting him away. Just as the attack was finished, the sword's white blaze faded, and it was just a hilt once more. Unfortunately, it had run out of energy just as the final slice was made, meaning a piece of Zamasu survived, though it was small and insignificant. The mutations had taken their toll, morphing this creature into an elongated dark purple serpent, forced to crawl on its belly in a vain attempt at escape. Trunks stopped it with the heel of his boot, though knew he wouldn't be able to destroy it. That's when Buu walked up and pulled out a small container. The evil containment wave did its job, so Zamasu would forever live as a lowly worm within a white void, having nothing but his thoughts to keep him company. Buu conjured up Kachin to surround the container, making sure every possible precaution was taken to make sure the demon would never escape. Trunks thanks the Majin for his help before promptly passing out. Buu was pretty tired himself, but he and Mei had some cleanup to do. Vegeta has also passed out, having given every bit of his energy to the attack, and so father and son were placed in the same hospital room. Both were healed by Buu since, while they could use a senzu, the Majin figured some time in bed would do them good. He, however, did need a bean since he'd spend the next 24 hours reforming the city with Kachin, making sure it would never witness devastation of that magnitude again. He would also, using instant transmission, locate Namek, where he, Mei, and Mai would go on a little diplomatic mission. When future Mori learned of the fate of those who saved his planet so long ago, he did everything he could to help, immediately summoning Purunga and wishing to restore Earth's atmosphere and beauty. While they couldn't revive everyone, they did revive the victims of Zamasu, including Cell. Mei had wondered if anyone would travel with them back to Earth, so it would have another defender, and maybe even another set of Dragon Balls. Mori was a little hesitant, but Dende stepped up to the plate. The events of the Namek Saga left him with a sense of adventure, and so he'd traveled to Earth for something new. Surprisingly, Cargo also joined his brother in this adventure, and so the two brothers traveled back to Earth, where they were met with a pretty ravaged lookout. Buu, embarrassed about the state of things, quickly began cleaning up, though the two Namekians offered to help. Mei tried to see if she could find her papa from atop the lookout, but it would seem he came to her, teleporting in and giving his daughter an absolutely huge hug. "Oh, you did so good, May. You executed that spirit bomb like a champ." "It was all thanks to you. I had no idea what I was doing." May hugged her father with such force that she popped his back. Cell had no idea how she got so powerful, but then again, she was his daughter, so it made sense. Once the two had caught up, Buu asked for their help in cleaning up, and the two obliged. Overall, in only a day, Earth had been vastly improved from its previous state. All in all, Buu figured this looked pretty close to how present Earth did. Many cities still needed to be repaired and rebuilt, but Buu knew the Earthlings would have to do that themselves. This was something future Bulma and Trunks agreed with, though they did get some capsules from present Bulma, who had packed a farm's worth of seeds and other plants so that the Earthlings had a little something to start out with. This gave Cell an idea. He knew the Majin was still packing some senzu and that Yajirobe had survived and had some knowledge of the beans. He threw a bean at the samurai, who was pretty confused. "It's another chance, Yajirobe. I think you know what to do." Yajirobe simply nodded before pocketing the bean. The present Z-Fighters didn't spend too much longer in the future, simply saying their goodbyes and wishing Trunks luck. Vegeta had a heartfelt goodbye with his son, telling him to never forget that he's the son of a prince and has a duty to continue protecting this world. Not to mention, he had to protect his girlfriend, right? This makes the hybrid blush a little, something Vegeta chuckles at before fist bumping his son. Buu turns the others into candy, and then they all pile into the time machine, saying goodbye one last time, and traveling back into the past. Once arriving in their proper timeline, the Z-Fighters are shocked at the state of planet Earth. While still intact, the area that was once known as West City was now rocky, with rivers of molten rock flowing across the land. Bulma was worried about her son, while Buu wondered where Gohan could possibly be. These questions were answered when they looked up into the sky to see Gohan clashing with another Golden Warrior, one of hulking size and power. Piccolo could be spotted holding Goten and Trunks and flying off, presumably trying to get to safety. Cell, May, and Vegeta all focused on the fight at hand, but Buu could tell there was more to the story. He could sense Frieza nearby, as well as another strange power, albeit faintly. The Majin uncandified the others before grabbing Cell and teleporting over towards Frieza. There, the two spotted the Emperor in his golden form, simply watching the fight and smiling. "Oh, I was wondering when you two would arrive. The boy down there refused to tell me where you were, so I unleashed my latest little project. He seems to be doing well, don't you agree, Doctor?" Frieza turned to the side, looking at an eerily familiar face. Cell froze up for a second, looking at the face of Dr. Gero himself. Buu wasn't entirely sure about who this was, but he had heard about the Doctor and could put the pieces together. The four prepared for a fight, with Cell rushing his creator, only for Gero to pull out a remote, which stopped the android in his tracks. Buu and Frieza got into a skirmish where the two proved to be close in power, though the Majin held an advantage. Cell tried to fly in and combat his creator, but his body just wouldn't budge. He couldn't generate any ki or fly in any direction either. Cell was simply frozen in place.
Marvelous, isn't it? Frieza bought just enough time for my microbots to enter your body and latch onto your DNA. Right now, I can control your body at a molecular level. Once again, my greatest creation, and failure, is in the palm of my hands.
"You might have me in your grasp, but I'm hardly the most powerful here. Even May could beat you." Cell struggled to move, just barely inching forward, but it was futile.
Do you really think I'd come here without a plan? These copies of yourself could hardly put up a fight against Commander Violet. In fact, he's just informed me of the death of your own son. What was his name? Oh, it really doesn't matter, does it?
Gero talked into a device on his arm, telling the 6 paths to activate, whatever that meant. Cell didn't believe Soma would fall to such a weak opponent, but then again, he did put up a good fight back when Frieza first attacked. The android didn't want to panic, but when he couldn't sense Soma, nor Shin or Kibito, his heart began to sink into his stomach. Cell was desperately trying to move his body, begging it to move, even just a little, releasing more of his ki or as much as he could, attempting to overpower these drones Gero had. But nothing happened, and the doctor simply smirked as 5 commandos, all looking like Commander Violet, only with a different part of their body covered in copper, flew in. Cell could tell these were just as powerful, if not stronger than the android he fought before. Gero ordered these 5 to attack Mei and the others and allow Broly to finish off Son Gohan. The 5 instantly flew in and began fighting Vegeta, holding him off and allowing Broly to continue unabated.
You know, if it weren't for your influence, I wouldn't have gotten this second chance at Revenge 21, or Cell as you've come to be known. Now, let us watch as a new world is born, one where all of humanity can become better, become an android. Gero put a hand on Cell's shoulder, making him face the direction of the battle, forcing him to watch as his friends fought for their lives. Buu and Frieza were still fighting. Vegeta was fighting too many opponents and was eventually beaten, leaving the androids to fly after Mei, Piccolo, Goten, and Trunks. Broly and Gohan were surprisingly even, though the hybrid was pushing himself clearly on the edge, while Broly seemed like he could keep going forever. However, that's when a spaceship came into view, crashing into the doctor while a blue hand caught the remote, turning off the control over Cell. The droid looked over to see Zangia smiling, while Finn and Pui Pui exited their ship, letting it carry Gero into the molten lava below.
Hope we aren't too late. Tell us, how can we help?
Huh, just provide some backup to the others. I'll be the one to take the old man.
Cell smiled at his crew, happy they were able to come in clutch like this, before all 4 flew in. But that's where we'll be leaving things off for right now. If you enjoyed the video, then maybe you join series all about Cell being a far less benevolent guy. But even if you don't, thank you guys for getting to this part of the video. Have a good day or night wherever you are. That's it for now. Bye bye.